The Kingdom of Tonga, a country with over 3,000 years of history, is positioned at the southernmost group in the Polynesian Islands. Because of its position in the South Pacific and its low-lying geography, Tonga is one of the most disaster-prone countries in the world, ranking second of 181 countries on the World Disaster Risk Index in 2020. Earthquakes, tsunamis, floods and cyclones are a constant threat in Tonga, and with climate change, cyclones and flooding are becoming less predictable and more intense. In 2020, the Government of Tonga and ADB commissioned a multi-hazard climate and disaster risk assessment covering the island of Tongatapu in order to identify both high and low risk areas and communities.
And this study providing the opportunity of this important assessment of where we are, the situations, and giving us some solid scientific evidence of these impacts of climate change. A database was developed, of course, to quantify and distribution and characteristics of assets and population across the island.
Based on international, regional, national datasets and field observation, the assessment analyzed 28,000 buildings, 1,200 kilometers of roads, 26,000 power and 500 water assets across the entire island, including the capital. These assets were plotted against earthquakes, windstorms, tsunamis, rain-fed, and coastal flooding hazards to model the impact of natural hazards with and without climate change. The assessment finalized in May 2021 identified climate and disaster risks to assets and population across Tongatapu expressed as annual average losses.
Tongatapu is the most densely populated area of Tongatapu, and it's situated between two bodies of water. It's also the fifth lowest lying city in the world at only 1.5 meters above sea level. When you combine these factors, plus underlying poor drainage and continual development, it is very important for us to understand how to manage low-risk planning for the future.
The assessment applied various climate change scenarios, namely sea level rise and extreme rainfall events, against different levels and likelihoods of flooding. Results were broken down at the level of individual towns, which are the basic administrative units in Tonga. A risk index was established ranking these towns against individual and combined hazard threats. And this way, the assessment gained an understanding of areas in Tongatapu that will be at high risk from climate change and subject to frequent or even permanent flooding. The assessment also identifies relatively safe areas on the island for future investments and adaptation. As Asia and the Pacific's climate bank, ADB is bringing new ideas and technologies to make meaningful action against the threat of climate change.
The Multi-Hazard Risk Assessment Report is of great value to Tonga. By helping us plan with low risk, we can ensure the long-term security of our assets and the safety of our populations. By identifying the high risk, we are able to look at a new way as to when and where to locate our future assets so that we can ensure that we plan for the sustainable development and future growth of the Kingdom of Tonga.
The information allows to design the gradual development of safer areas and steering investments away from the highest risk areas while ensuring that all investments are designed and operated to withstand multiple hazards. And this includes using post-disaster situations and recovery to not only build back better in a manner resilient to natural hazards, but to promote rebuilding away from high-risk locations for a safer and resilient Tonga in the 21st century.